You have not heard from him in months. Nothing, no message, no call, no real sign that you were even on his mind. Then out of nowhere, he is back. Maybe it is a text, maybe a missed call. Maybe it is just that quiet little signal that tells you he has been watching from far away all this time, and suddenly your body reacts before your thoughts can catch up. Your chest tightens. Your heart starts moving in strange directions. Your mind races ahead, trying to make sense of what this means, trying to protect you, trying to hope, trying not to hope. And deep under all of that, there is a part of you that already knows this moment matters. So before you answer, before you decide what kind of energy you want to give this, before you let one old feeling pull open every locked door inside you, slow down and stay with this. Because the real reasons a man comes back after a long silence are not always the reasons people think. And once you see them clearly, you will not look at this moment the same way again. What you feel right now is not weakness. It is not a sign that you failed to move on. It is not proof that you are still trapped in the past. It is your nervous system reacting to a bond that once felt real. That is not pathetic. That is human. And if you listen closely here, this could save you from answering with pain instead of power. When a real emotional connection forms, the brain does not just erase it because time passes and the messages stop. It does not switch off like a light. It leaves a trace. It stays in your memory, in your body, in the small corners of everyday life where certain feelings still know your name. That is why one unexpected message can wake up emotions you thought had gone quiet. They were not gone. They were resting under the surface. So if you feel shaken right now, do not shame yourself for that. You are not falling apart. You are responding exactly the way a person responds when something unfinished suddenly reaches back into the room. And that matters, because you should never make a decision in a moment like this based only on fear, longing, or fantasy. You need to understand what may really be driving his return. Not what your anxiety is screaming, not what hope is trying to write into the story. The truth is often calmer than that, but also much more powerful. So let's get honest. The first real reason a man comes back is that the life he imagined without you did not feel the way he thought it would. That future he pictured, the easier one, the freer one, the one where moving on would bring peace and excitement and relief, did not unfold the way he expected. Stay with me, because this part changes everything. Sometimes the silence is not proof he forgot. Sometimes it is proof that the story he told himself started breaking apart when real life replaced the fantasy. When he left, he likely carried a private idea of what came next. He imagined space would make everything lighter. He imagined distance would make things simpler. He may have told himself over and over that stepping away was the right move, that he needed freedom, that there was something better waiting just ahead. And for a little while he may even have believed that with his whole chest. But life has a quiet way of testing every story we tell ourselves to feel safe about a hard choice. The freedom he thought he wanted may have felt empty. The peace he expected may have felt flat. The new possibilities he assumed would excite him may have come and gone without touching him in any real way. This happens more than people admit. When someone walks away from a meaningful bond, the mind starts comparing everything that comes after it to what was lost. Every new conversation gets measured against the depth of the old one. Every new woman gets compared to the feeling of being with you. Every moment that should have felt exciting gets tested against something warmer, deeper, more alive. And when nothing truly matches it, something begins to shift, quietly, slowly. Not always in a dramatic movie scene. Sometimes it happens in silence. Sometimes it happens over weeks. But it happens. He starts seeing that what he left was not just another connection. It was the standard. That is why some men come back. Not because one new person failed them in one obvious way, but because the emotional level you set kept showing up in every comparison and nothing else reached it. That kind of truth sneaks up on people. And once it lands, it is hard to ignore. The second reason goes even deeper, because it is not just about his thoughts. It is about what your connection did to his body and brain. Real attachment changes people. It does not just create nice memories. It creates pathways. It teaches the nervous system what feels known, what feels safe, what feels alive, what feels like home. So when two people have something genuine, the connection does not vanish just because contact stops. The habits of feeling do not disappear on command. The body remembers, the mind remembers, the system remembers. That is why months later, something small can bring it all back. A song, a street, a smell, a season, a certain kind of night. A random quiet moment where he suddenly feels the shape of your absence in a way he cannot explain. This is not just romance, it is how people work. Once the brain links someone with comfort, intensity, meaning, or emotional truth, those links can stay alive under the surface long after the relationship changes form. And the strange thing is, he may not even understand what is happening when it starts rising again. He may just feel pulled. He may find himself thinking about you at odd times. He may remember things he thought he had buried. He may feel your absence in a place deeper than logic. And when that pull gets strong enough, it often becomes action. He reaches out. Not always because he has sorted himself out, and not always because he has clear, noble intentions, but because something in him never fully detached. If this sounds familiar, keep listening, because the next reason is the one that cuts closest to the bone, and if you miss it, you may misread his return completely. Another true reason he comes back is that he has finally felt the real price of losing you. There is a kind of understanding that only arrives through absence, not the absence of drama, not the absence of conflict, the absence of you. Your warmth, your way of listening, your way of seeing him beyond the surface, the way you met parts of him that he did not show to most people. That kind of loss does not always hit right away. Sometimes it takes time. Sometimes the first weeks are full of ego, distraction, motion, noise. He stays busy. He tells himself he is fine. He throws himself into work, into friends, into new attention, into anything that stops him from being still long enough to feel what is missing. But eventually reality catches up. New connections may look good at first, but they flatten. New conversations may start strong, but they feel thin. The spark is there, but the depth is not. And slowly he begins to see that what you gave him was not generic. It was not something easy to replace. It was not a role anyone could fill. It was specific to you, the quality of your presence, the emotional room you gave him, the care in the way you notice things, the rare feeling of being met for real. That is not easy to find again. And when a person discovers too late that something precious was not ordinary at all, regret can become very heavy. He may come back carrying that weight, not lightly, not casually. Not because he was bored on a random night, but because he now understands that what he lost had value he failed to measure when it was still in his hands. That kind of realization changes the energy of a return. Then there is the reason that lives in what never got finished. This one matters more than most people think. A lot of men come back because there is still something emotionally open in the story. Something unresolved. Something that never landed. A conversation that never happened. An apology that never got spoken, a truth that got swallowed at the exact moment honesty was needed most. People often think time closes things. It does not. Not always. Sometimes time just lets the unfinished part grow heavier. When a relationship ends without real closure, the emotional energy does not simply fade into the background. It lingers. It gathers. It keeps pressing on the inside. He may have spent months carrying words that never made it out of his mouth. He may have replayed the moment he chose distance instead of truth. He may have felt the quiet shame of knowing he handled something important in a weak way. And even if he has not fully admitted that to himself, the body knows. The mind knows. Something unfinished keeps asking for resolution. That is why a message can appear long after the silence seemed complete, not because he suddenly has all the answers, but because the lack of completion started becoming too loud to ignore. And here is what you need to remember. His unfinished emotional business belongs to him. You do not owe him healing just because he has finally become uncomfortable with what he left unresolved. You do not owe him access because he is now ready to face feelings he once ran from. Watch this closely, because the next part is where many women give away their power. Do not confuse his need for resolution with your responsibility to provide it. At the same time, there is one more reason that deserves real attention, because not every return is fake, selfish, or shallow. Sometimes a man comes back because he has actually changed. Not perfectly, not magically, but genuinely. Some men do go silent because they are careless, avoidant, or looking for easy options. That is true. But some go quiet because the depth of what they felt exposed fears they did not know how to handle. Real closeness asked something of them that they were not ready to give. Vulnerability scared them. Emotional presence felt too big. Staying meant facing parts of themselves they had spent years avoiding, so they pulled away. Not because nothing was there, but because too much was there and they did not know how to stand inside it. Now, that does not excuse the silence. Pain is still pain. Confusion is still confusion. But growth can happen in the distance. Real change often happens in discomfort, in loss, in sitting alone with the consequences of your own choices. Sometimes the space forces a man to see himself honestly for the first time. And if that has happened, his return will feel different, not more charming, different, softer, clearer, less slippery, more accountable, more grounded. He will not just reach out to test the door, he will come with a different quality of energy, more truth, less performance, more ownership, less confusion. That does not mean you automatically open the door. It means you pay attention without lying to yourself. If something feels different, notice it. If it feels the same as before, notice that too. Your job is not to reward effort. Your job is to read reality clearly, because clarity is what protects your heart better than hope ever will. And this is the part one really want you to hold on to. No matter why he came back, his return is not proof that you need him. It is proof that your presence mattered. Those are not the same thing. Do not let one message trick you into believing your worth just increased. It did not. You were not less valuable during the silence. You did not become more precious because he finally looked back. Your value was already there the whole time. His silence was never a measurement of your worth. It was a measurement of his capacity, his fear, his readiness, his confusion, or his lack of courage. That matters because too many women unconsciously rewrite the story the moment he returns. They start thinking, maybe now I matter, maybe now he sees me, maybe now I am enough. No, you were enough when the room was quiet. You were enough when your phone stayed dark. You were enough when you had to carry yourself through the ache of not knowing. Nothing about his delayed recognition gets to define your value, and loving deeply was never your mistake. Being open was never the failure. Caring with your whole heart was not something to be embarrassed by. That was your gift, and gifts like that are rare. People often do not understand their value until they live without them. So if he has come back because he finally sees what you were, that may be meaningful, but it is not permission to forget what the silence cost you. Let that sink in, because if you miss this, you can end up treating his return like a prize, when what you really need is discernment. You deserve more than being remembered when the alternatives disappoint him. You deserve more than being revisited because the world outside you felt colder than he expected. You deserve more than being contacted when loneliness, regret, or unfinished feelings finally grow too loud for him to ignore. You deserve to be chosen clearly, not retrieved, not tested, not put back on the screen because everything else failed to hold his attention. Chosen, fully, calmly, repeatedly. The kind of choice that does not vanish into months of silence and then return asking for grace without first bringing truth. So if you do respond, do not do it from the old ache. Do not do it because his message woke up the part of you that still wants the original dream. Answer, if you answer, from steadiness, from self-respect, from the version of you that has learned what inconsistency costs. You can be warm and still have boundaries. You can be open and still ask hard questions. You can feel something and still refuse to move fast. That is not bitterness. That is wisdom. And if he is real, if he has truly grown, if this return is not just emotion but substance, then clarity will not scare him, truth will not push him away, accountability will not offend him. In fact, it will reveal whether he came back because he misses access to your energy, or because he is finally prepared to meet it with something worthy. That distinction is everything. Miss it, and you can reopen an old wound. See it clearly, and this moment becomes a turning point instead of a setback. So what do you do now? First, breathe before you build a whole future around one message. One text is not transformation. One late-night call is not emotional maturity. One apology is not proof of change. Let actions speak. Let consistency tell the story. Let time reveal whether this is real or whether it is just a wave of emotion passing through him. You do not have to rush. You do not have to prove you are kind by giving instant access. You do not have to hide your standards to keep him comfortable. Ask yourself simple questions. Does this feel honest? Does this feel grounded? Is he taking responsibility, or is he just opening a door and hoping you will do the emotional labor from there? Is he speaking clearly, or is he still leaving you to guess? Does his return bring peace, or does it mainly wake up confusion? These questions matter. And yes, part of you may still care. Part of you may still love him. Part of you may still wonder what could happen if this time were different. That is okay. Feeling is not failure, but feelings alone are not a decision, they are information, nothing more. Let them inform you, not control you. If he has truly changed, the truth will become clearer, not cloudier. If he has not changed, that will become clear too. Either way, you win when you stay anchored in your worth. Keep watching, because this final part is the one you may need to hear most when your heart starts getting pulled backward by memory. Whatever you choose, let it come from strength. If you open the door, do it because you see something real, not because you are afraid this is your last chance at love. If you keep the door closed, do it with peace, not with bitterness. Either path can be powerful when it is chosen from self-respect. And remember this above all, a person coming back does not automatically mean they are ready to stay well. Those are two different things. Missing you is not the same as being capable of loving you properly. Wanting another chance is not the same as being prepared to build something healthy. Feeling regret is not the same as having the tools to do better. So do not be hypnotized by the return itself. Look deeper. Look at the quality of his energy. Look at whether his words carry weight. Look at whether his actions match the story. Look at whether your nervous system feels calmer around this, not just more activated. That matters. Because love should not only wake you up, it should also make you feel safe. And if this reached something true inside you, let that truth stay with you longer than his message does. You are not here to be almost chosen. You are not here to become valuable only after being lost. You are not here to pay for someone else's confusion with your peace. You are someone worth choosing clearly, daily, and without silence in between. Never forget that. Not when he comes back. Not when he disappears. Not even when your own heart tries to bargain against what you already know. Hold your worth, hold your pace, hold your peace, and let whoever enters your life meet you there. And if he is truly serious, he will not punish your caution. He will respect it. He will understand that trust cannot be rebuilt with one emotional moment. It is rebuilt through patience, honesty, and steady effort over time. That is how real change proves itself. Not in promises, not in charm, in consistency. So let him show you who he is now, not just tell you. Let his actions carry the weight, not your hope. And if he cannot do that, then you already have your answer. Because the right person does not only return, he returns with clarity, with care, and with the ability to meet you where you are. Never shrink your standards just because someone came back wearing regret. Regret is not commitment. Missing you is not the same as being ready for you. So stay centered. Stay honest with yourself. And most of all, remember this. Your heart is precious. It is not a place for someone to visit only when life feels empty. It is a place for someone who knows its value, while they still have access to it, and who chooses it with love, with certainty, and without disappearing when things become real.